All right, just a quick one here. The Houston Texans just won free agency before free agency even started by making a trade that essentially was signing a free agent. This is a phenomenal move to get one of my absolute favorite receivers. And I know this sounds weird because you have to ask yourself, like, what do you mean he's one of your favorite receivers? He's just a dude. I'm going to tell you, he's not a Jag. Get it? He's not just another guy, but he's also not a Jacksonville Jaguar. It is Christian Kirk that you've traded for, and in this video, I'm going to make the argument as to why he's really, really good. And I'm going to talk to you about some of his stats for the last few years. He's someone that I have routinely had on my fantasy football team, which for the last couple years have been disappointing. But we'll talk about some of the good things about Christian Kirk as well, and why I think he is a good number 2 wide receiver. He is a good, very good number 2 wide receiver. In fact, he actually did a good job as a number 1 wide receiver just a few years ago. If you're new to this channel, we absolutely love the NFL. We are Lions fans. We don't hide that. But guess what? At the same time, we love talking about other teams that the national media ignores. No Cowboys on this channel, but we got the Texans, and we've been covering them for a long, long time. So here you have it. Christian Kirk trade grades. Texans get needed depth. Jaguars deal another wide receiver in division. That's what makes this deal so unique. It's in division. So what's on the hook for the Texans? Here's what you want to know. They will be paying Kirk $16.5 million this year. They will be paying him $16.5 million this year, and there's nothing on the books after that. There's your number right there, 16.23 or something like that. Apparently, I rounded up. All right, so there's nothing else on the books for that. There's no dead cap. Like, they could actually release him at any time if they wanted to, and it wouldn't hurt them on the books. And what did they give up? A 7th-round pick. Essentially, now, it's not nothing. I understand that it's not nothing. But essentially, it's nothing, right? So you get that. Now you're not battling. Sorry, excuse me. All right, now you're not battling for this guy in free agency where you're going to have to sign him to a multi-year deal. You're going to have to see if it works with C.J. Stroud. It's a one-shot deal. And it basically signals the end for Stephon Diggs. Now, here's the thing that I want to talk about with Christian Kirk, and I want to rewind just a little bit. And I want to go back first to the 2022 regular season in the NFL. And the number 1 receiver on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you can see, well, that my screen's not working, all right? Number 1 receiver that year was Christian Kirk. Number 2 was Zay Jones, and then Marvin Jones Jr. Christian Kirk led the team in targets with 133. He had 84 catches. That's a very high completion percentage over 17 games for 1,108 yards and 8 touchdowns. That's not a bad wide receiver 1. But that is not what actually convinces me on how good Christian Kirk is. I think a lot of people believe that, like, oh, dude's actually not that great. He was okay in Arizona. Then he went to Jacksonville, had a great first year. And then the last couple of years have kind of been derailed by injuries. Okay. When in 2023, the Jacksonville Jaguars wanted to beef up their receiving room, so they brought in Calvin Ridley. Now, did Calvin Ridley end up having a better year than Christian Kirk? Yes, with a caveat. The caveat is he played more games. Through the 12 games that they both played, where Kirk didn't miss with injury, Kirk had a greater average per reception. He had a greater yards per game, and he had fewer drops, and he had a greater yak yardage. In fact, with the 5 less games, he had more yak yards. All right, yards after the catch, if you don't know what I'm talking about with yak yards. In 12 games, he had 787 yards. What that means is when Christian Kirk was functioning as a number 2, all right, he actually was better. He was actually better than Calvin Ridley was on the same team. Now, he's not going to be better than Nico Collins. What I'm saying is he's the perfect running mate next to Nico Collins. He is a good route runner. He can work out of the slot. He can work out of the outside. He is dependable. He is trustworthy. In fact, hey, they're your division rival. right? The Jacksonville Jaguars, if you'll remember, at the beginning of 2023, they kept trying to force feed the ball to Calvin Ridley, and their offense stalled. It was garbage. It did not go well for them. It stalled, and it was bad. Their offense did not do well in the beginning of the year. Then they started giving the ball and going to Christian Kirk. If you remember that year, which you wouldn't, the Jacksonville Jaguars won their first game against the Colts. They then lost to the Chiefs and to your Houston Texans, where they scored 9 and 17 points repeatedly, and then they stopped trying to force the ball into Calvin Ridley. And Christian Kirk, over the next 5 games, was the leading receiver in 3 of them. He was the leading receiver in 3 of them, and they won 5 in a row, scoring 23, 25, 37, 31, and 20. All right? They then won in week 11 and 12. They were sitting pretty, and then Christian Kirk got hurt. Christian Kirk got hurt, and they lost 5 of their remaining 6 games. Coincidence? Probably not. Christian Kirk gets hurt this year for the Jags, and we all know how that went. We all know how that went. When he missed the vast majority of the season, the Jags had a horrible year, which nobody listening to this that is a Texans fan is disappointed about. So when I talk about the grades, like, first off, The Athletic did a grade post, and then the Texans grade was, sure, why not? No, it's an A. This is an A. Christian Kirk is a good player. He's good in space. He's reliable. You need, whether it's a check down, whether it's a guy over the middle, whether it's whatever it is, there needs to be multiple guys on the team that the quarterback can be like, yep, that's my guy. I'm just going to go to him. I'm just going to go to him. I'm just going to go to him. And C.J. Stroud needs that, especially as the offensive line continues to struggle. They have reloaded. Tank Dell, I understand he's going to be out. He's going to be out this year with that injury. All right, Stephon Diggs, they're probably not going to bring him back. So what they decided to do is they decided to bring Christian Kirk, who's a few years younger. No, he does not have the ceiling that Stephon Diggs has, but I think you are going to see very similar production out of him. This is a good move. If you are a fantasy football person, all right, and you want a wide receiver 3-4 on your team, Christian Kirk is now not a bad guy that you'll be able to get pretty cheap because everybody has forgotten about him. They forgot that for a year and a half when he was in Jacksonville with a good quarterback, he put up wide receiver 2 numbers. That goes for fantasy. That also goes for real life. When the offense ran through Christian Kirk, it went really, really well. His body just didn't hold up to it. I think in Houston, he's going to have the opportunity to not have to continue to hold up to it because he's not going to get 140 targets. He's not. He's going to get 80 or 90, and it's going to be perfect for both sides. All right, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.